Welcome back to The Explainer. I am so thrilled to have you here today. We're going to tackle something that honestly trips up native speakers and language learners alike, mastering some tricky advanced grammar structures. But hey, don't worry, we are absolutely not going to get bogged down in confusing jargon. Instead, we're looking at language as a super powerful tool to shape exactly how your message is received. Let's get right into it.
Have you ever had to deliver a harsh message? Something like, "The manager ordered you to finish the task," but the second the words left your mouth, you instantly wished you sounded just a little bit softer, maybe a bit more diplomatic. Well, today, we're going to learn how to manipulate sentence structures almost like a math formula to solve exactly this kind of communication problem. We are taking the mystery completely out of the passive voice.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. We're taking a building blocks approach to just totally ease any grammar anxiety you might have. So we'll start with commands in active voice, learn the passive transformation rule, explore verbs with two passive forms, figure out choosing person or action, look at common passive voice mistakes, and finally wrap up with the golden rule.
All right, part 1, commands in active voice, building the foundation.
To really master the passive voice, we've got to first establish a rock-solid foundation with the active structure. You have to know how the machine works normally before you can start reverse engineering it. So think of this formula literally like a math equation. When we use verbs of command, request, or advice, words like order, invite, or advise, they follow a very strict pattern. You've got your subject, then your specific command verb, followed by a person. In grammar speak, we call that person the indirect object. Finally, you lock it all in with a to infinitive. That's just the word to plus the base form of the verb. Subject, verb, person, to infinitive. It's a perfect, repeatable formula.
Let's see that exact formula in action. Take the sentence, "We requested them to come." Our subject, we, is directly performing the action of requesting on the object, them, right? And that's followed by the infinitive, to come. Or how about, "The teacher ordered us to leave." The subject, the teacher, performs the direct action of ordering on us, followed by to leave. The active voice is super direct. It points a finger and it clearly states exactly who is doing what to whom.
Moving right along to part 2, the passive transformation rule, shifting the focus.
But what if you don't want to point fingers? What if the who just isn't as important as the what? Well, you're going to need a new system. Here are the 4 precise steps to transform your active sentence into a passive one. First, you take the object, the person receiving the command, and move them to the very beginning of the sentence. Boom, they become the new star of the show. Second, you drop in the correct form of the verb be. Third, you change your main command verb into the past participle. And fourth, you keep the infinitive phrase exactly as it is. Follow these 4 steps, and I promise you this logical system works every single time.
And this brilliantly illustrates our 4-step formula in real time. Take the active sentence, "The doctor advised him to rest." Now let's apply the math. Step 1, move the object, him, to the front, which turns into he. Step 2, insert the be verb, which in the past tense is was. Step 3, the verb advise becomes the past participle, advised. And step 4, keep the infinitive, to rest. He was advised to rest. It's clean, it's simple, and it is incredibly effective. Now, if you take away just one structural rule from this entire explainer today, please let it be this. During this transformation, the to infinitive stubbornly remains exactly the same. It does not budge. To rest stays to rest. To leave stays to leave. Only the main verb changes into its passive form. It's a huge aha moment that instantly makes writing these sentences so much easier.
Up next is part 3, verbs with two passive forms, leveling up. Now that we have the basic transformation locked down, we're officially moving to the advanced stage. This is where we level up, because certain verbs actually give us not one, but 2 distinct passive options. Now, not all verbs have this superpower, but the ones here do. We're talking about verbs like advise, beg, order, command, urge, recommend, and sometimes request. When you use these specific verbs in the active voice, they unlock a special secondary sentence structure when you switch them to the passive voice. This secondary structure uses a that clause, and let me tell you, it is an incredibly useful tool for formal writing.
Let's contrast them directly. First, we have passive form 1, the basic structure we just mastered. They were advised to speak English. Pretty simple, right? But using that same verb, advise, we can create passive form 2. He advised that English should be spoken. Notice the completely different architecture there? We use the word that, followed by the action itself, and then should be, plus our past participle. Sounds way more formal, doesn't it?
All right, part 4. Choosing person or action, the storytelling tool.
So what's really interesting here is that we have two perfectly correct grammatical forms. Why would a writer or a speaker or a business professional choose one form over the other? Well, because grammar is fundamentally a storytelling tool. Let's break down your strategic choices. Passive form 1 puts all the focus on the person. Students were advised to study. The spotlight is directly on the students. But passive form 2 entirely shifts that spotlight to the action itself. It was advised that studying should be done. You use form 1 when the people involved are what matters most. But you use form 2, which again is much more formal, when the action, the policy, the rule, the task, is the absolute priority. You're basically directing the audience's attention exactly where you want it.
Okay, so now you have the formulas, and you know exactly how to direct the audience's attention. But what happens when we get these rules slightly wrong? Let me tell you, grammar mistakes in the passive voice can create some very confusing and honestly, sometimes very funny situations.
Which brings us to part 5, Common Passive Voice Mistakes, a Troubleshooting Guide.
Let's treat this next bit kind of like a troubleshooting guide. We're going to walk onto a few grammatical crime scenes to figure out exactly which part of our trusty formula went missing. Take a listen to our first crime scene. They were advised to speak English. Can you spot what's missing? Yep, it's the to marker. Remember the rule from earlier? The infinitive must remain unchanged. Dropping that to is a massive mistake that instantly makes the sentence sound totally unnatural. The corrected version should be, they were advised to speak English.
Now for mistake number 2, and this one is a bit of a logical disaster. Check this out. English was advised to speak. Now, unless English is a living, breathing person who needs a bit of life coaching, this makes absolutely zero sense. Languages cannot literally receive life advice. The structures got all mixed up. When you want the action or the subject matter to be the focus, you need form 2. The fix resolves the logical error beautifully. English should be spoken. Much better.
Finally, part 6, the golden rule, bringing it all together.
We've built the foundation, we've leveled up to advanced structures, and we've successfully troubleshooted the common pitfalls. It's time to bring everything we've learned together into one ultimate takeaway. So, the absolute crucial point is this golden rule. When an active sentence contains an object plus 2 infinitive, the passive sentence usually keeps that infinitive right where it is. It doesn't move. And remember that special list of verbs? Order, command, advise. They are your keys to unlocking that secondary, formal, that plus should be plus past participle construction. This rule right here is your North Star for navigating the passive voice.
I want to leave you with this thought. Now that you have the formulas and the tools, the choice is entirely in your hands. Next time you give a command, write a policy, or send an email, will you put the spotlight on the person, or will you shift the focus entirely to the action? Play around with it. See how it completely changes the tone of your message. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep practicing, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.